Yo guys, Tuna here. In this video, I'm gonna go over the strat that I ran yesterday for my sort of broke to mirror challenge. Yesterday I ran more boss rushing. So if you watched yesterday's video, boss rushing is very OP. So the first day I ran Abomination boss rush, and I was doing that with Harvest. And overall, it was pretty profitable. Ended up about 25 divines per hour, going at a pretty efficient rate. Spending about 2 minutes per map. And it turned out that I got about 80 divines in fragments and then 30 divines in life force for harvest. Today, however, or rather yesterday, I decided to test doing something similar. So boss rushing Abomination with beasts specifically, because it's something that, first of all, does not slow you down. It does not add extra time to your maps, since you are just sort of picking up the beasts on the way to the boss arena. And it's something that I never really did before, and it's also quite profitable. All the beasts, they go quite fast. So in that it does not add any extra time to your map. If we look here at the breakdown and the costs and the profits and all that kind of stuff, I got about 57 divines worth of fragments, and that was the majority of which was reality fragments. And here I actually ended up getting quite lucky in what fragments I got, and I'll speak about that a little bit later. So got 34 reality fragments and 26 blading fragments. So you would expect to have about equal amount of these. The 34 is quite good. So we have 57 divines worth of fragments, and then we got about 10 divines worth of beasts, of which 6 black morgans, 328 yellow beasts, and then these are the ones that you can see, 4 vivid watchers, etc. The thing about farming beasts is that managing the menagerie, which was also taken into account in the time ran here, is a big part of it. You do require a variety of regexes to be able to effectively do that. And these are things that if you click here on the Atlas tree, you can grab all of the regexes here. So these would be like the red beasts to keep. These would be all of the beasts to delete. So as you go through and you bottle up all of these beasts, and then you delete all of these, and then what you're left with is just the yellow beasts at the very end. And I will quickly show what that looks like in practice once I go through the showcase of the maps and stuff like that. But yeah, so I did that in Abomination, and it was very, very good currency per hour, as you guys can see. Like it's honestly, like, boss rushing right now is crazy. The total runtime was about 2 hours with a couple of breaks in between. So yeah, it took 2 hours to farm 60 maps. My total costs were pretty much just the 60 maps, which cost like 50 chaos per. You see that it's deducted here. And then some scarabs, right? I died once, so -1 amelioration as well. And then some of the scarabs that you can see if we were to go into the negatives. So I used 120 Kalgur, 120 Beast Herd, and then 60 duplication. However, since I did find a couple on the way, like that's why they're not running down to 60 or whatever. So yeah, those are all the costs included into this, and we still ended up at like 26.7 divines per hour. With a 2-hour runtime, we made 53 divines from this farm doing Abomination. That's one of the highest divines per hour that I have achieved this league. And of course, I am being quite efficient. I'm running these maps 2 minutes per map. I don't expect everybody to be able to run them that fast, but if you lock in and you have a relatively good build, like, you should be able to do that. Then I tested a second thing because I was curious about the Sanctuary map as well. Because the Sanctuary map has like sort of even amount of fragments that you can get from there. Fragments being like the Uber boss fragments. So if I am to go here and wait a second, I need to deselect scarabs somehow. I'm still getting a hang of this myself. Oh yeah, of course, it's because I'm organizing them by price. Okay, so total price. You can see 26, right? And this is more consistent with what we had before. It seems that like once you run 26, when you run 60 maps, you get about 26 fragments of the one you desire. It's pretty consistent with here as well. You can see 26 blazing fragments, 26 traumatics, and the spread between traumatic, blazing, reality, and there's usually one more. There's 4 fragments that drop. But the spread between those fragments is like equal. And you can see that the spread here is also equal. We have 26 Devouring, 26 Blazing, and 26 Awakenings. So yeah, you have like 3 fragments that drop very commonly, and then you have the extra fragments that are sort of just like split evenly amongst them. So in Sanctuary map, you'll be getting a lot more Devourings, and that's what you're aiming for, and these sell for about a divine each. So we got like about 30 divines worth of Devourings alone. Abomination, that was like 36 in reality, so that's where we got quite lucky there. And then for the rest, it's pretty much just the same price, right? So 38 chaos per blazing fragment. We got a couple of realities, which is pretty lucky. And then the awakenings, which are kind of worthless, but you know, it's a little bit of extra currency that we made from that. We got quite lucky on some scarabs. We dropped 4 scarabs of containment, which is kind of crazy because I actually dropped 0 when I was doing Abomination. Now it makes me wonder whether there's more of a scarab bias when running a Sanctuary map. But yeah, and then we got a bunch of the Divination scarabs too, which ended up being a couple of divines. But overall, like the scarabs are such a small part of this farm that I wouldn't consider them to be really like, you know, something that you're looking out for. However, for divines, here we also got 6 Black Morgans, just like we did with Abominations, so quite consistent there. 412 Yellow Beasts as opposed to 328. The reason for this is because Sanctuary map, of course, is more linear and it's just more easy to capture beasts. So we captured, you know, a lot more beasts because of that. So it's like, you know, like 10-15% extra beasts that we will be getting when running Sanctuary map. If you were to look at the total and the difference between the amount of currency we made with beasts as opposed to fragments, and when you compare it to the harvest farm in the previous day, we made 32 divines and 84 total in the fragments. The big difference maker here is that we took a lot more time per map when running harvest as opposed to running beasts. Because beasts, you're just capturing everything that's on the way. You're never really holding out and waiting for Einhard to capture them. You just beeline it to the boss, kill everything on the way, and then capture the beasts that you find on the way there. Made about like 15% of our total revenue with beasts. And our costs ended up being pretty much the same on both Sanctuary as well as Abomination, though. Sanctuary yesterday was a little bit more expensive. It was pricing at like around 60 chaos, where Abomination was about 50 to 55. So yeah, we ended up paying a little bit more for that. But overall, both strategies are crazy. Like the divine per hour that you're getting from this without any sort of like outlier drops is pretty insane. So 24 divs per hour, 26 divs per hour. If you're running 2-minute maps, that means that you are on average making some, if we were to say like we have 60 maps and then we want to divide 60 by 53. Sorry, we want to divide 53 by 60. We are making on average 0.88 divines per map. And since we're paying about a divine, I think is like about 150, right? So we are profiting a decent amount. So what is like 150 times 88? 150 times 0.88. 132, and then we minus like 55, which is the map cost. So it's about 77 chaos every 2 minutes with this strategy, or rather every map, right? Depending on how fast you run them. So yeah, that is a very decent amount of currency. Now that we looked at the breakdown and stuff, let me explain what you're doing, and the Alice tree as well as my PoE exchanges will be linked for you guys to analyze if you want to have a look at any of that sort of stuff. So for this strategy, we're just going to be running quantity on the map device. You could run Calgur for more chances of getting the Starfall creators. I personally don't like the fact that I'm adding 5C per map cost, because it's eating up, you know, about like 7% of your total profits, which is quite substantial when you add it up. And I'm not really sure if, like, you know, coping for Zvolin is really that worth. Although the Calgur Scarab is just like less than 1 chaos, right? So it's just definitely worth. You get like 2 chaos, you added a bunch of extra ore deposits, and chances of getting Zvolin. I found like 4 about per 60 maps. So it seems to be about like, you know, like 6 to 10% chance to spawn, 5 to 10% chance to spawn per map, depending on if you spot them, because in Abomination sometimes you actually do miss them. And I was running Bestiary Scarab of the Herd, two of them, one duplicating 2 Kalgur and then Abomination or Sanctuary map. So the only difference here between the Sanctuary and the Abomination test was the map, essentially. And I'm still profiting Dunes because there are a couple of 16.5 maps, dropped about 100 chaos. And you can still favorite Dunes, but since I'm not specking Singular Focus, you will get just a bunch of random ones, which ideally you want to be horizon orbing these into beach map or canyon map, I believe. I'm not really 100% sure. I have to still go through that process. So yeah, just horizon orb these over to a map that people actually wanna play, and then they should be okay to sell. For the Atlas tree, it's best you guys just like open that up and copy it, but the idea is that you're grabbing all of the Einhar stuff, all of the Kalgur stuff, and the rest you want be getting quantity as well as map effect. The reason for that is because the more quantity you have, the more fragments the bosses drop. Really important that you roll your maps with at least 100 plus quantity. And that here you can see, chisel, then roll your sanctuary maps or abomination maps to 100 plus quantity with this regex. And what you could do is you could just go when you're in game. If you yourself have a regex, you just basically plonk that at the end of your regex, and it's going to ensure that you're getting over 100 quantity. You can't see that here because I can't run these mods, but you would be able to see that this is now 100 plus quant, and this is a good map to run. All right, so how I ran the strat, I'm just going to go over it very quickly, and I'm going to make sure that I have the correct atlas. Okay. We're specking quantity, putting in Abomination. This is kind of just a dummy map to show you guys. It's not over 100 quant, but you get the idea. Okay, yeah, we're going to run it. And it's really straightforward. Like, it's basically just running a map. There's nothing really special. You're not going to be waiting for Einhar to capture the beasts. Here you just pick left or right, depending on what you feel like doing. Eventually you kind of get a hang of these layouts. Though it feels like very RNG, whether you want to go left or right in Abomination. Sanctuary is much more straightforward. It's a linear map, but it's a long map. So if you do actually get the right way in Abomination, you end up being a lot faster as opposed to Sanctuary. But since we saw the results ended up being about the same amount of time spent in Abomination compared to Sanctuary, and also of course there is the variable of me getting a little bit better at running these maps, but yeah, it ended up being about the same. So I have to be honest, I was sweating a little bit more running the Sanctuary maps, and one thing I don't like about Sanctuary map is just how bright the map is, or dark, and then how bright my spell effects are. It just kind of ended up like blinding me a lot. So that wasn't too pleasant, I'll be honest, and it's probably a reason why I'm not going to be doing more Sanctuary maps in the future. All right, that's it. I've captured 13 beasts on my way to the boss, which is quite a lot, and I've dropped 3 fragments, one of which is reality, and one of which is blazing, which is what we can kind of expect. So that's pretty good, and I forgot portal scrolls, so let me go find one real quick. Or you know what? We'll just log out, and then we'll log back in. I just actually finished cleaning my menagerie, so you guys won't actually get to see like the full process, but I did want to go over the process of how I deal with beasts and how I bottle them up and that kind of stuff. So you're in the menagerie. You don't have to specifically do this here, but yeah. We go and we click captured beasts. And this is where you will have like hundreds and hundreds of beasts, which in about like 50 maps, I ended up filling my entire thing from clean. So this is where I will use Awaken PoE trade macro. And this is where I save all my regexes. The way that you access this is you press, I believe the default hotkey is control space. I changed that myself because control space was kind of annoying. And then at the top right here, you'll see that there are a few things. So if I click hide, you see it's under map rolling for me. And I just have a bunch of this stuff. So anytime I want to like roll stuff, anytime I want to look, I should probably clean this up. But in general, this is where I put all my regexes. So for the maps I run, when I want to like specifically buy things from fastest, you can also search like scarabs specifically, which is really useful. I'll show that a little bit later, but anyways, so the first thing you do is you click this first regex, which is the one that's linked right here. Red beast to keep. And if I had good beasts, this is where they would be showing up. But since we only did one map, and then you would just like bottle them up. So control left click, and they will go in your inventory. And then from there, once you've bottled up all the good beasts, this is where you want to delete stuff. And there is a trick to deleting them. This will save you a massive amount of time, so better pay attention to this. When you click control left click onto this, there's a massive delay in between like being able to delete them. But if you are to just press control and move your mouse in like somewhat of like a circular motion and click on these, it will bottle them up and they will go in your inventory, but at some point they'll start dropping on the floor. And what you want to do is that's way faster than specifically deleting them, because what you can also do is you can fill your inventory with like scrolls or something like that, and then you could just, you know, drop them on the floor like this, and then you cycle through all your other regexes, and you will just keep dropping them on the floor. Then you go through beast delete 3, beast delete 4, all of the stuff that you don't want, and then it's just going to be on the floor like that. And that's basically it. That's the process that you'll go through. Then usually what I do at this point is I will stash all my stuff back, go to the waypoint, control left click, and it will just it will clear the instance. Okay, now I'm back here, and everything that's left is yellow beasts. So at this point, with a clear inventory, I will press control, and I will just spam click all of my beasts into my inventory. And once I'm done with that, I will just post them. I look on PoE trade, of course, because we want to make sure that we're posting them for the correct price. So you go into bulk, and you can go for divine, scroll all the way down to beasts, and right here, yellow beasts. And you can see people are listing them for about a divine per 60. So that's pretty good, because that means that you're getting, you know, 150 chaos plus per 60. That's so. And since we made 320 while doing Abomination, you know, this one is pricing them at 1C, so it's actually undervaluing them quite a bit. Here we made 412. So we go like 412 divided by 60. 6.8 divines worth, where here it only showed as 2.6. So you're actually making like a lot more currency from yellow beasts than anything else, and potentially it's better to only farm yellow beasts specifically and not farm red beasts. But that's a test that I'm probably going to be doing either today or tomorrow. And yeah, but that is pretty much all you need to know to make a fuck ton of currency with boss rushing T17s while also farming beasts. So if you too need, you know, a mirror to mirror a chest, or whether you just need some currency to reroll into your next build, I hope this has helped. And again, you can always follow. You know, you can see my link. Like, I'm going to be sharing my profile with you guys, so you can see all of the strats that I've been running. And if you open up here, the sessions, the breakdowns, the amount of loot that I got from these strategies, and also from there you can see the atlas trees and that sort of stuff. So I hope this was helpful, and hope you guys make a lot of currency. Thanks for watching. Peace out.